What's up, guys? So, yeah, I had some technical stuff going on with the live that I just did about an hour ago. We won't get into it, but yeah. So what I'm gonna do now is just do it again. This is Aruna, little baby. Bye, Aruna. Let's do it. So, it's not gonna be exactly the other one, but you know, it's it'll do. Yeah. So what we were talking about was, what I was talking about was the unconscious. Oh, by the way, the mic is kind of cut off a little bit, so let me know if you can't hear me. Okay. Cool. Yes. So we're gonna stick to the unconscious or the subconscious. The reason we're gonna do that is because we have to create a foundational system, foundational narrative in order for me to continue to talk about things later on, such as chaos magic. That's it. Without this subset of foundation, understanding the consciousness, the conscious mind, the conscious reality, via or with the unconscious, things are going to make sense later on. And things like certain systems, processes, games, narratives, programs that we want to implement into our reality experience, it's a lot easier if you can make sense of these things. If you can't make sense of it, you can repeat the exact same recipe and not know, that you might do the same thing that other people are doing and it's not working for you. And it's not working for you because you don't have an understanding of something. So, and especially in the case of things like chaos magic, which it's a lot of things. And one of the things that it is excuse me, how do I play this game in this reality without having to, how do I borrow from other systems, other beliefs, other circuits without becoming them, right? So I think I mentioned this last week, that it is possible to understand how other systems work, whether it's Rosicrucian, Freemason, Catholicism, right? Satanism, Luciferianism, Hinduism, like Buddhism. You can understand these things without having to become part of that dogma. The reason that I would prefer to visit as opposed to, I don't need to become a Mason, a Freemason, and then make it to 32, 33 degrees, because by the time I am 33 degrees in that system, my subconscious has already been programmed and changed to such an extent that I won't be aware that I'm in that program. So that means that for the rest of my existence, unless something big happens where I snap out of it, I am under that spell. Spells are programs, right? I would rather study what they're doing, study what the Luciferians are doing, study what the Christians and the Protestants and stuff are doing, up to a certain extent, and then back out. Not only do I not care to be fully programmed and indoctrinated, right? So once you are programmed completely, you are now indoctrinated. Indoctrination sucks to get rid of. It's much easier to clean your circuits out from things if you were just kind of visiting and experimenting and trying them out and understanding them than being indoctrinated by them. If you're indoctrinated, it's just annoying. And you can clean the house back there and still fucking years later, you still have, residuals, remnants of crap. That's it. So, but again, this is all about the subconscious. So the subconscious, correspondences of the subconscious, the right hemisphere of the brain, the feminine aspect. It's the lunar, the, but it's the moon. It's where inspiration comes from. Intuition is found in the subconscious. Feeling, emotion, these kinds of things, emotions are coming from the subconscious. Emotions are, in my opinion, they're more in the liminal space between conscious and unconscious. People believe that emotions are very conscious, and some people believe that they're very unconscious. I believe that they're right in the center, because you can express emotion now differently than you did when you were 10 years old, right? So there's a cooperation that you can put to practice through a lot of discipline, trial and error, where your emotions are a tool for you to better understand either what's going on in the conscious realm or what's going on in the subconscious realms. Emotions don't lead the show. That is a very unpopular belief with people. We live in a society now where, we'll always have kind of lived in that world where my emotions are more important. So fuck logic and reasoning, right? And that's cool too. But anyway, so the subconscious. Think about the polarities, because they are polarities. They are polarities, the conscious and the subconscious. Where the conscious mind is very literal. Think about literature, right? It's very concrete. It wants a structure. It creates order, whether it's actually creating positive, negative order, it doesn't matter. Order out of chaos. The unconscious is chaos. A lot of old ancient systems, they talk about order out of chaos. That's what you're constantly doing, but if you're not doing it intentionally, your order that you're creating unconsciously via the unconscious, it might look really weird, uncomfortable, whatever, when it is manifested into the physical reality. So, order out of chaos. What is chaos? Man, chaos is a bunch of stuff. I forgot to write down in the realm of mathematics, chaos theory is very new. New in the sense of, I think it was around the 50s. I think it was like around the 1950s, early 60s. Chaos theory showed up in the realm of mathematics, and it was immediately shunned and just pushed away by the old mathematical paradigm. Coincidentally, right? There are no coincidences. Around the same time that chaos theory came out, there was like a big lecture. I think it was Oxford University in England. I believe it was Oxford, but there was a big ass meeting that was being had by these mathematicians about chaos magic. In the same auditorium, I think it was maybe like a year or something later, give or take. Don't quote me exactly, but this is what happened, right? In the same space, like physical space, the auditorium of this place, where they talked about chaos theory, about a year later, in the same spot, the conversation of chaos magic came up, but not in the sense of the term chaos magic. That was later, maybe I think the 80s or something, like chaos magic, right? So, chaos is potential, right? Think about the circle. the prima materia in alchemy. Everything and anything that could possibly be exists there. The thing is that it's not everything and anything at the same time, because it can't be yet, because it hasn't been structured as anything or everything, right? So it's not a thing yet, but potentiality exists in the prima materia, right? So that's why you have to learn how to square the circle. Not only are you learning to bring order, or bring forth from chaos to create order, structure. By the way, when I say order, I'm not talking about laws, rules, and all this bullshit that society has allowed itself to be held under. Excuse me. Order in the sense of structure. That's it. Right? So you have a blank piece of paper. Let's say there's no lines, it's just a blank piece of paper, right? We can call this chaos. This is chaos because the potentiality of what could occur on this piece of paper is massive, right? So this is chaos. The moment that I do this, but this is order, right? This is what it is, a blank piece of paper, right? The moment I do this, I have now created chaos because I have disrupted the structure, but I have also created a new order. There's a line, right? And then if I do this, again, order out of chaos, right? It just keeps going. You just keep doing whatever it is that you do. You're changing reality somehow. So a blank piece of canvas with a red dot on it, and then that red dot gets orange around it. Order out of chaos, that's it. The potential. The feminine contains this thing, right? The potential for life, the potential for story, the potential for anything in existence. I'm pretty sure that you guys get it now, right? So the subconscious is also the realm of it doesn't utilize language the way that I'm using it right now. It does communicate, but it communicates not through language, it communicates via symbols, right? You see these symbols in dreams, they're archetypal as well. Think about Carl Jung, right? The collective unconscious symbols that have existed in human reality for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, right? There is meaning to these symbols, and these symbols, they show up to tell you something, to make you aware of something, but you still at the end of the day have to translate. You have to interpret. So the symbol itself is not the definition, but it means something. It represents something. So think about an essential oil, right? The soul, the sulfur, the soul of a plant, right? So, rosemary is not its essential oil, but it's also not its leaves. It's not the salts that you get from calcining. It's not the spirit that you get from fermentation. The essence of rosemary, think about the essence of. So it's not the thing itself, it is like a projection of it, right, into the manifested world. So it manifests itself via projection into the physical reality. If you look at the compounds in rosemary, those compounds together are what creates the soul, the essence of rosemary. If I had a computer, program that kept catalogs of every plant's compounds and essential oils, think of it as like a recipe. Like, people take like ChatGPT and they go, hey, so all I have, I'm hungry, I want to eat something, this is what I have in my fridge. And they're like, and you're like, so I have eggs, right? I got flour in the cabinet. I have half and half milk. You know what I mean? I don't have any sugar, but I have erythritol. I got some chocolate chips. And it'll be like, oh, you can make chocolate chip cookies. because you have these ingredients. Those ingredients fall perfectly into, this is like your base. You can make a cookie, and then, you know, you can alter it and make chocolate chip, whatever the fuck. Anyway, so the coded language of the unconscious is it's symbolism. And even though in the conscious realm we do interact and engage with symbols all the time, these symbols, like, a lot of times they could be perverted or they could be misinterpreted, right? It doesn't mean that. I said earlier, think about like the swastika. That wasn't the original name, and it comes from many other cultures since ancient times, and it has a very different meaning than what like the Nazis gave it. So symbols can be interchangeable, and your interpretation of a symbol doesn't mean that it's correct or incorrect. But if you believe that a symbol, even if it's a symbol that already exists, has a different meaning to you, then that's what it means to you. And this is why I think it's cooler to work with symbols that you're creating or symbols that are coming to you from your unconscious. So this does, the unconscious does not speak in words, so there's no syntax, right? A communal, agreed upon definition of something. Symbols is the language of the unconscious, and it's where our avatar's persona and reality codes exist. So my persona, my character traits, those codes exist in my unconscious. My subconscious is the same. Maybe unconscious is when you're not aware of the subconscious and don't have a relationship to it. So it's your unconscious, right? But, okay. So why does there exist an unconscious or subconscious and a conscious reality? Like, why can't they both just, why is there two? Why can't it just be why can't I just be here with all of it? Well, we got to talk about metadata, right? So think about your computer. Your computer has two things going on. It has its background operating system, its OS, and in that realm is binary code, right? Ones and zeros. Input, output, positive, negative, male, female, light, dark, right, wrong, right? All it 1, 0, right? Just keeps, in any combination, any sequence of those ones and zeros means something different. So 1, 1, 1, 0, 1 is different from 1, 1, 0, 0, 1. It creates something different, right? Something else is being expressed. Something else is being created. The data in the subconscious is really raw because it hasn't fully been defined. It has meaning, but it hasn't been defined. And it has its own meaning, and then you're going to interpret that meaning to something that suits you. So it's a lot of information. That has been running since the moment we were born. Probably running before you even came out of the capsule, the womb. Our conscious mind is not ready. It hasn't been conditioned yet to be able to even fathom interpreting the symbolism. So just like in the Matrix, when Neo first gets unplugged, and then he gets replugged and goes into that white space with Morpheus, and then they make like the shelves of guns show up and all this shit. Like, a baby can't do that. A baby has to be born in a realm where there's already a set and setting. There's a person, place, or thing. There has to already be a story in order for that child to come to this world, interact and engage with it, to be part of it, right? That's why they say, like, we were born fully awake and then we fall asleep as the days and the months and the years go by. And the big goal is, whether it's through Tantra, whatever, metaphysics, making the Philosopher's Stone, the goal of the stone, for example, isn't, now I know everything. It's, cool. Now, how do you become a child again? Now, if you become a child again, you don't go back to Google Gaga, right? You don't go back to pooping your pants. You go back to being a child with the wisdom that you attained through birth, knowing, forgetting, and then remembering again. So you're not reverting back to childhood, like to infancy. There are things that we lost in the process of being here with each other, being here with ourselves. There was something of an innocence, a joy, a playfulness that we forgot. And you have to forget, because I don't think most of us forget. I think that there are like psychological, mental disorders where there are people who are just children forever. And you just see joy in their eyes. Like they can't even, they can't process, does not compute, boop, boop, like evil and shit like that, you know? They can experience biological, neurological sensations of input, output, things like pain, discomfort, and blah, blah, blah. But there's just like this emanating joy that comes from them. You see their eyes and there's like a blankness to their eyes because they're not, their system hasn't been corrupted yet, just like a child, right? Anyway, the information is just, the data dump would be massive. This is like smoking DMT. Look, I don't care how many times you smoke DMT, you come back, man, you can't recall everything that you just experienced. The reason is because there's so much information. You're interacting with your consciousness is going unconscious to an extent because it's the only way to really fucking perceive what the fuck is going on, right? The information is just too much. You can't digest it. Let me see, what was his name? Aldous Huxley. Huxley called it the automatic, forgot what he called it. But the brain has a protective mechanism where it fogs out data that's not necessary, right? That's why, like, people like detectives, investigators and stuff, they are really good at seeing what you're not able to see because you haven't trained or been trained to see more, right? The difference between looking, analyzing, and observation, right? Observation isn't looking for something. Observation is taking in snapshots of everything, right? Then you take the information that you took snapshots of, then you analyze that data. Then you take your analytics and then you think about it. And then you make a decision. We do it ass backwards, right? We make decisions based on what we're looking for. So in an ideal court of law, the judge's job is, and I mean judge as in like judgment, right? Ideally, he uses observation to get all of the information, all of the evidence, all the stuff, and then use logic and reasoning to piece things together and then make a decision. But we do it ass backwards. We don't look, we don't observe, we just look because we're looking for what's right. We're looking for what's wrong. We're looking for what we like. We're looking for what we don't like. So if you have a picture of, let's say, that bridge in Central Park, right? There's like a couple walking under the bridge with their dog. There's a lady with a stroller to the right of the frame. You know, the sun is about to set, right? The sky is orange. The trees are there. Maybe it's autumn, so the leaves and all that shit. You show that picture to a variety of different people and you will get different responses as to what this picture is about. It's literally a fucking picture. And it'll still be interpreted by others, you know? There is no objectiveness happening because you haven't taught yourself how to be objective about the quote-unquote subjective, right? And nobody wants to be subjected. Nobody wants to, we say this, but we still do it. And the reason we do it is because our unconscious programming is already set to be prejudiced, to assume, to do all this shit without any type of viable evidence or data that has been put through test in the mind itself, and so that you can come up with your own conclusions, right? So everything that I talk about, and I've always talked about, comes from me doing just that. I'll try on people's belief systems, but then I'll act them out, and I'll observe. What was the consequence of that? What was the outcome of that? How do I feel about that? Did I feel anything? And then I make my own conclusions. I come to my own conclusions. But even when I come to a conclusion, I put it to the test again, and I'll do it again. So I might work for someone that I know is fucking lying and manipulating me, or date someone, or be friends with someone, have an acquaintance, and I know they're trying to steal or lie or whatever the fuck, right? The moment that I know that that's what they're doing, why don't I just leave? Well, it's not that I'm second guessing myself or I doubt myself. It's because I need more concrete examples of this outcome. If I do it again and I don't get the same outcome, well, now I have two different outcomes. And so now I'm going to do it again. Maybe it's some Virgo shit. I've heard, Virgos are like that, where they'll just stick around because they want to know what the fucking plot is. How does this end up? But it might be a little bit of that. But really, for me, I want to know for myself. Just because someone told me this, that, and the fourth, I need to know for myself, and I need to come to my own conclusions. And this thing with the unconscious, the subconscious, is because it's going to be a lifelong journey, because the data is massive. It's all over the place. It's abstract. It doesn't speak English or Spanish, the only two languages that my mind and mouth know how to interface with. And my curiosity and my passion, my motivation comes from wanting to understand this unknown about what makes me me. The shadow is in the realm of the unconscious, shadow aspects of ourselves. It's not who we are. I'm not the unconscious, and I'm not the conscious, right? I am a composition. I'm more of, Eric Satie composition of different sounds to make this thing that I call Raven. But even Raven isn't those things either. Raven isn't even a thing except a persona to an avatar that the I, like the big I, manifested into reality, right? The reason this is going to be something that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life is because the data is so massive. It's taken me years just to comprehend stuff that I surfaced, dug up from the unconscious. Because I originally thought that it was like this dark thing, something's wrong, the ego, this, serpent, I gotta kill it, I gotta do this. And now I'm understanding, I love that little fucker. Like that part of me is the part of me that if I do need to protect myself, that's the part that comes out. If I do need to be, if I'm feeling suspicion about my environment, the people in it, the scenario that's playing out, my unconscious, my subconscious has data, and those same scenarios will play out throughout my life in different ways and different formats until I finally get it. And then once I get it, it'll happen at the very least one more time, just to see if I react to it or how I react to it. And this shit just keeps changing as the years go by, as the months go by too. So it's too much information for the pea-size amount of conscious reality that we actually experience, right? Right. So what I am doing with these lives, alchemy, chaos magic, is I'm teaching myself how to take that massive data, or even a piece is massive, and turn them bite-sized, B-Y-T-E, bite, right? Sticking to computer analogies. Unless you are a software developer, a hacker, computer engineer, it won't make sense. I mean, you could be a magician, right? You could be an alchemist. they also have like, a little bit of they're a few steps ahead on what this stuff is, but this is chaos magic. Don't subscribe to a singular thing, because the singular thing is still someone or something's interpretation of what's going on back there, and you want to make up your mind yourself. Always take no man's word, right? Or women's philosophize as well. So interpreting symbols. Computers operate via binary. We went into that. Input output from one place to another. So information in binary computing travels from one place. So my computer sends out a request for information, and then that information gets sent back to my computer. It takes time and it takes energy, but it's so fast that you're like, what? That was like a split second, right? But when you zoom in, man, what makes a second is nanoseconds, right? Those nanoseconds, like you can keep breaking this thing apart, and see a broader gradient other than just like 1, 2, 3. That is time, right? Time is space. It is energy, right? The more space you occupy, the more energy you require. The more energy expenditure, the more work is required. So even though my computer sends out a message, a request for something, it gets it back. But for us, we believe that it's instantaneous, but it's not. So now we can talk about quantum computing. Quantum computers are fucking fascinating. It's one of my obsessions. So our current system of computing operates binary, 1, 0, right? Quantum is what I would like to call trinary. So it's 1 and the space between the 1 and the 0, right? So if you now, instead of just being 1 and 0, it's these 3, there is something in the space, right? Dark matter, like all this, it's correspondence shit, but the space in between, right? If you think that the space is empty, then it needs to travel from here to here. Binary. Quantum, the space is already, there is no space anymore. So all information exists all at the same time, in the same places. I'm still wrapping my mind around how this actually works, but I do know this. The reason we don't have quantum computers right now, the story is that we don't have the technology to cool down the amount of energy required. Well, we don't have the technology for the amount of energy required, so the energy consumption plus the expenditure of that energy, right? Anything in movement creates heat, right? Heat slows things down, right? You have a laptop, you have 40 tabs open. If you pay attention, your computer starts to slow down every time you want to run another program, an application, and open up another tab and do another thing. It just starts to slow down. You can have the newest computer that just came out 6 months ago. You can have all, this is why computers have 2 different sets of memory. There's the memory that you're using all the time where your tabs and all that stuff is running. If you pay attention, your computer is either slowing down, maybe glitching, or you will listen to the fan. The fan on your computer turns on. It's trying to cool down the energy expenditure of running all those systems all at once. That's why computers that have bigger RAM, right, and bigger memory is because it costs more to create the hardware that can sustain things like video editing, right, doing animation, while also being on a FaceTime call, with work and looking up at new things you got to buy for your video system, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so it costs a lot of energy. It's intense to run computing at the quantum level. I also believe that the reason that quantum computing isn't a thing is because it's being hindered, because the moment that quantum computers are a thing, what they're trying to figure out is how can we create firewalls that prevent quantum computers from bypassing them, because there is no encryption that a quantum computer can't just walk through. Think about it. All information exists everywhere all at once. It's telepathy, it's clairvoyance, it's clairaudience, it's psychic abilities, right? It's remote view, like it's all happening now, right? So when people tell me, oh, you're psychic, I was just thinking about that. It's like, I think what's happening is that I'm just open and aware. So I happen to be open and aware, and I'm connected to you. And because you are connected to me, I have all your information. Quantum computers do that. There is no encryption that can stop a quantum computer from accessing, someone with a quantum computer, or accessing your bank account. And I think that is going to be awesome. It's going to be annoying and terrible. It looks bad at first, but it gets rid of secrets. It gets rid of hindered or withheld information. So if there is a thief that can walk into your bank account on a computer, on his quantum computer, and steal your money, we also have that thief's every information as well. So we can track where your money is being moved from your account to. The scary thing about secrets, right, is I don't sustain or maintain autonomy, and my privacy is very important. It's like, no, it's not. You know, some people pick their nose, some people eat their boogers, you know what I mean? Some people fart all the fucking time, you know what I mean? But they want to be a lady or a gentleman about it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I think that it'll be a big change in human existence and history if there's no more secrets and no one can hide anything anymore. And you wouldn't have to. I think it would take some time, and then eventually we would learn how to coexist in a world where there is no secrets. There are no hidden agendas or hidden intentions. We just know. So instead of patenting things so that I get all the credit and trademarking and shit like that, we just don't care anymore. So I know, I feel it deep in my loins that it'll change everything about us. It'll change how we produce technology, how we make technology. We might even do things like maybe going back to something like pseudo, like how the ancients were able to build technologies that we don't even know about. We still can't understand. We can't find evidence of it. It's like we would actually be able to coexist with nature, planet Earth, and be the most advanced civilization that has ever existed of all the other advanced ones from ancient times that we don't have access to recorded history about or on. Anyway, quantum computing, all at the same time, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. The information is accessible right then and there. So what I'm doing is learning and creating techniques, methods, experiments that allows me to have a deeper connection with my unconscious, my subconscious. I want to interpret as cleanly as possible what is within my unconscious. If I can do that, I won't have many questions. That leads to me having more time to just be here and not wonder, how will I do tomorrow? How will I make ends meet? How this, why that? It's building a connection with the part of you that has way more answers than things outside of yourself. Everything that if you do connect or hear or feel or sense your subconscious, anytime that happens, what we tend to do is interpret or misinterpret what's going on there, because belief systems are a thing, right? What you believe is the reality that you experience, but it doesn't mean that that is what reality is. You're just experiencing a diluted version of what's actually happening because of perspective and perception. All right. So your stories, your belief systems, whether they're genetic, ancestral, environmental, personal, it's a little bit of all of those things, some more than others. This is why you're experiencing the reality you're experiencing. If you are suffering because you choose unconsciously, but you choose to experience suffering. You are seeing and feeling interpretations of this thing. Your interpretations of that is what you've now chalked off to, I'm suffering. But I don't want to suffer. But I keep suffering. I keep making changes. I wake up earlier. I meditate. Or I take psychedelics. I go to the gym. I go on hikes. I get more sunlight. I become a more pleasing person to be around. I'm more agreeable. I go to functions. I fucking recycle. All this shit. I am still suffering. I give the homeless, I buy them lunches. I give them money. Like, why am I still suffering? It's just what you want. That's where you want to be. Even if you scream, cry, pray, I don't want to suffer anymore. You might not actually have the conditions for suffering. You might actually have the conditions of an amazing moment in this world, but because you haven't changed what's going on back there, you haven't updated, you haven't upgraded your OS in the unconscious realm. And listen, I know that intuition comes from the unconscious, subconscious realm, but that system can also be corrupted, and it gets corrupted. I think anything that comes into this world that isn't nature gets corrupted. The way that our mind operates is not natural to this world. When you can psychically connect to a tree, to an animal, it starts to become very evident very quickly that we're the ones that are fucking crazy, not nature. Even what we consider dangerous animals are nothing compared to how our fucking minds work, right? We're crazy, we're neurotic, we're obsessive, we're all these things. We doubt ourselves, we're scared of things and all this stuff, right? But there's something that we have that nature doesn't have, and it's the power to create. Not just create for safety, for, sexual multiplication, right? To keep spreading the seed of genetic information, blah, blah, blah. We have something that nature doesn't have, which is to create art. You can call nature a creation of art, but that's someone or something else's creation. It's designed nature, and that's why when we look at nature, we always find beauty. It's a work of art, but it's not my work of art, right? I can't create works of art through a relationship with my subconscious. So, malware, viruses, corruption can occur in the unconscious. And if these occur, then they corrupt your conscious reality. Again, the reason that I find it important that we go into the unconscious or the subconscious first before we get into, chaos magic and so on is because you need a foundation, something that you can root and ground into. Because when you go and experiment with different systems and rituals and stuff, you need to have something that isn't moved, right? So even if your branches burn off, get hit by lightning, your roots are still there. You can regrow again and start all over again. Unconscious, subconscious reprogramming is through conscious intention. Now, I want to share that sometimes we want something to be our reality, our experienced reality, right? So I program it into my unconscious, right? With the full moon or the waning, whatever, right? With these colors that are correspondent to the desired reality that I want to experience. And I'm doing all this work and I'm meditating and, you know, all this shit, all this stuff that amplifies and allows for the upload or the download of, or the uploading of this thing that I wrote, this intention that I have. And I do it every day, and it's been 60 days, 90 days, it's been a year now. I start to experience something that doesn't make sense. My reality now, what's going on between my unconscious and my consciousness, there's cognitive dissonance going on. This cognitive dissonance is coming from, I have this program that I'm inputting into my unconscious. Why isn't it something that I'm experiencing? Because there's something in the unconscious that is the exact polarity or opposite of what I want to put in there. So now I'm experiencing that I'm not worthy, that I'm not loved, that I'm not desired, that I'm not desirable, that I'm not attractive, that I'm not abundant, I'm not wealthy, all this shit. And it's like, but I'm doing the fucking work. And it's like, why isn't it working? Because that program, the original one, even if it's not ours, even if we adopted it from our environment, you could have had a parent, a sibling, somebody that had that program that you absorbed and got programmed into yourself, right? So what you need to do, in my opinion, is it's an opportunity for you to continue to watch your program being implemented and then flourish. When the old program shows up, don't give attention to it's not working. That's you giving life. You're paying attention to the old program. That's how it works. It wants to fight for existence. It wants to sustain autonomy. It wants to be relevant because it's what you know, whether you are aware of it or not. It's what you know. So what you know is way more, it's less dangerous than the unknown. Having abundance, being wealthy, being lovable, being desirable, all that stuff, that contains unknown possibilities. So unknown elements pose to these biological primitive metrics of the unconscious. They pose a threat, but it's an imaginary threat. You are bringing conscious light to the unconscious void or darkness, right? So you pay attention to the thing that you're doing. Stop waiting to see if it's working. Allow yourself the time and the space to keep feeding the new program. Maybe you need to redo it, redesign it, reshape it, restructure it, whatever you need to do. Stay focused on the task at hand, which is, I'm not going to try to delete the old programs because that gives attention, power, and existence to the old program. What I'm doing is I'm focusing on what it is that I do want to do. But that other program keeps coming up screaming. That's why I think meditation is really important, by the way. 5 minutes every fucking morning. Just fucking try it. Set a timer. 5 fucking minutes. I'm tired of hearing people's excuses as to why they can't do it. And it's a fucking lie. It's bullshit. It's old programs because those old programs know, or the subconscious knows that because of those old programs, that the new programs are going to fuck around and change things. And change is not good to the mind, to the brain especially. It's not good to it because it's good for it, it believes, because it is the potentiality of danger, of a threat, an unknown threat, is what's scary, right? That fear is just like a baby crying. You don't go to the baby and ask it what's wrong, right? You don't give that attention. How's the baby doing? It's fine. It has everything it needs. It has all its, needs met. Food, safety, all that stuff, right? Maybe it's crying because it's time to get it off, the pacifier. It's going to kick. It's going to scream. Do I go and pick it up constantly? No, because then that is replaced, the pacifier is replaced through it screaming and crying by me holding it, coddling it. That's not going to help it either, right? That's not going to help your subconscious from changing and accepting the upload of a new program. So the beauty and importance of the subconscious. It's the bottom of the iceberg diagram. It's the biggest part of what you experience in your reality. And your reality may not be full of such suffrage that you might be believing it is. It's just old programs. And you can change them. You really can. But I would dare say changing them not by trying to change the program, the old programs, changing them by implementing new ones. And when the old one rears its head, that you just stay focused on the task at hand, which is, this is the new program that I'm creating. This is what I actually desire. And it's possible that maybe the thing that you're desiring isn't authentically you wanting that thing. So that there's that possibility. But this is why we reshape, restructure, reprogram the program that we wanted to put in. Just look for other definitions of what it is that you actually want. Maybe you don't know what you want yet. Maybe you're repeating, I want abundance and wealth because that's what everyone talks about. Abundance and wealth and love, right? What is abundance then? What do I actually really want, right? It's like the who are you question. Alice couldn't answer it, right? So it's it's really important that we understand the subconscious, the unconscious. If we want to make changes in our life, big changes that not only affect us, but our field, and can ripple out, even if we're not here for it, we die. It could be something that changes how something works in the world. That has to be through the subconscious. Consciousness being put into the realm of the dark unconscious to extrapolate symbols, to interpret them, maybe intuitive warnings, whatever, right? Advice that it's giving us, inspiration, right? For an artistic thing that wants to, there's an object, a thing that wants to exist in this planet. It wants to manifest, and it's choosing you because you will interpret it and express it in a way that is unique to you. But if you don't answer the call, a few years later, you find that someone else did the thing. And you're like, I had that idea. Shit, you could have been the billionaire. You could have been the millionaire. You could have been the famous person, but you didn't answer the call. You didn't respond and act. So the unconscious, it's your best friend. It's so much your best friend that it's going to tell you what you don't want to hear. It's going to tell you that dress looks awful on you. That shit is way too tight. You look fat in it. No, it looks awful. Like, look at your complexion, like your hair. It just, what are you doing? It doesn't go with what you're, like, that's a real friend. It tells you exactly what's going on, their actual opinion. And that's the relationship that I have with my unconscious. And part of why I've been silent for so long is because my conscious framework has been shifted in so many ways that I was like, I need to really consider what it is that I share with people, because I don't want to give information that I still don't understand. So yeah, we're gonna cut it there. This time, I'm pretty certain that I should be able to save the video for those of you who couldn't tune in to the live. But next week, we're gonna kind of recap what we talked about, or I talked about today. And then we can go into the realm of like, what belief systems are, examples of them, how they are storytelling, narrative, life narratives, and how we can use those to better understand what we have been experiencing, to see if that's what we want to experience. And if we don't, then what we want to experience, and how we can change that, again, through the connection and relationship building with the unconscious, the subconscious. But yeah, I feel like I said some other cool shit in the one I did like 2 hours ago, but technology, I'm still learning this stuff. But anyways, I love you guys. I'll see you guys next week. 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. Wednesdays, Mountain Standard Time. And peace.